As of 2026, South Korea has solidified its position as one of the world's top 4 defense exporters, with its global market share surging by 150% over the last 5 years to become the primary alternative to the traditional superpowers. In the high-stakes game of global defense, most nations are struggling to keep their assembly lines moving. But in Seoul, the factories are running so hot, you could practically fry an egg on the K2 tank hulls. Why are nations from Poland to the UAE suddenly abandoning the traditional superpowers to queue up in South Korea? The answer isn't that Korean tech is some mystical god-tier invention superior to everything else. It's that Seoul is the only player left with the industrial stamina to actually manufacture at scale. While the Western defense establishment is currently drowning in a cocktail of bureaucratic rot, supply chain fragility, and what industry experts call capacity hell, South Korea has transformed itself into a brutal, high-speed, geopolitical gap-filler. Forget the patriotic speeches. This is a story about how Korea leveraged its status as a semi-wartime economy to exploit the catastrophic supply chain failure of the West. When the world is screaming for shells and armor, a good enough weapon delivered today is worth infinitely more than a next-gen prototype promised in 2030. Why can South Korea do what Germany, France, or the US cannot? It's because Korea is the only advanced democracy that has remained, for all intents and purposes, a semi-wartime economy for the last 70 years. While Europe spent the post-Cold War era enjoying a peace dividend, dismantling factories and pivoting to boutique, just-in-time manufacturing, South Korea was forced by the constant existential threat across the 38th parallel to keep its heavy industry muscles flexed. In the West, defense manufacturing has become a bespoke, artisan affair. They treat tanks like luxury sports cars, highly refined, exorbitantly expensive, and produced at a pace that barely satisfies peacetime replenishment. A 2023 report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies noted that the U.S. defense industrial base would take years to replace current stockpiles, as manufacturing is hampered by specialized, low-volume requirements. Korea, by contrast, operates on a model of mass-scale assembly line industrialism. Think of it this way: when a country orders a K9 Thunder howitzer, they aren't waiting for a group of specialized engineers in lab coats to handcraft a masterpiece. They are getting a product off a high-velocity, standardized production line that is designed to churn out units like Hyundai's, leaving a factory in Ulsan. There is a famous story among defense contractors about the K9's early development. When engineers realized they needed to boost production, they didn't just add more workers. They applied the same lean manufacturing principles that Hyundai uses to build cars. If the automotive world could build a car every 60 seconds, why couldn't they accelerate the artillery pace? That's the civilian premium. They didn't have to rebuild their defense base. They just pivoted the output. In the brutal reality of 2026, the West has the blueprints for a Ferrari but no factory. Korea has the factory for a tank, and that is all that matters. The reach of the Korean defense sector is no longer confined to the peninsula. The 2022 Poland-South Korea Framework Agreement was the big bang of the modern arms trade. Faced with the immediate threat of war on its eastern border, Poland didn't just order a few dozen tanks, they ordered nearly 1,000 K2 Black Panther tanks and 600-plus K9 howitzers. This was a desperate search for quantity, and Korea was the only one who didn't blink. The K2 Black Panther has become the Plan B that outperformed the Plan A. It offers a platform that is more rugged and easier to maintain than hyper-complex American systems like the M1 Abrams, and it is vastly more reliable than legacy Soviet-era hardware. For regional powers like the UAE or Malaysia, the acquisition of the Cheonggung-2 missile system represents a similar strategic shift. According to the Korea Defense Industry Association, KDIA, Korean exports hit a record-breaking $17 billion in 2022, a massive jump from just $3 billion annually a few years prior. There's a bit of dark humor in the Polish deal. The Polish Ministry of Defense basically walked into every major European arms manufacturer's office and was told, maybe in 5 years. Then they walked into the Korean office, and the Koreans reportedly asked, "How many do you need by Tuesday?" That's the power of the Korean gap-filler model. They aren't trying to sell the world's most advanced invisibility cloak, they are selling a hammer that won't break when you strike the nail. This pragmatism has made Korea the default supplier for middle power nations that want to maximize their defense budget without compromising their ability to fight. Buying weapons from the big three, the US, Germany, or France, often feels like signing a marriage contract you didn't ask for. You pay the price, but you also accept their house rules. If your foreign policy diverges from theirs, the flow of essential parts can suddenly stall. For many mid-sized nations, this systemic dependency has become a hidden tax on sovereignty, a political surcharge that is becoming increasingly intolerable. Then came South Korea, acting as the ultimate no-strings-attached dealer. When a nation buys from Seoul, they aren't signing up for a diplomatic alignment test. They are just buying a machine. Polish President Karol Nawrocki has framed this relationship in purely realistic terms. When Poland doubled down on Korean K2 tanks and K9 howitzers, Nawrocki emphasized that Poland's priority was industrial scale and speed. We need equipment in the quantities we require without the bureaucratic delays that historically hindered our modernization. For Poland, Korea is not a political partner demanding policy shifts. It is a reliable industrial lifeline. The Korean model is refreshingly blunt. While Western giants act as gatekeepers, Seoul treats defense as a core economic pillar. Under President Lee Jae-myung, South Korea has framed defense manufacturing not as an ideological tool, but as an engine for industrial growth. Korea isn't trying to be a superpower that dictates the rules of global order. It is positioning itself as the world's most indispensable manufacturer. Korea's willingness to share production lines, a move traditional contractors have historically shunned, is a calculated long-term play. By helping the buyer build the factory, Korea isn't just selling hardware, they are exporting an entire ecosystem. Once a nation invests billions into a Korean standard production line, they have effectively committed their defense infrastructure to Seoul for decades. The proprietary software, the specialized digital architecture, and the technical tuning required to keep a fleet combat-ready are elements that tether the buyer to Korea. They don't need a political leash because they have built a technical infrastructure far more durable than any treaty. The buyer gets the hardware, while Seoul ensures that the digital heartbeat of their national defense is set to the rhythm of Korean industry, thereby securing a long-term, irreversible commercial advantage. For years, South Korea's military ascent faced a structural bottleneck. While the tank's chassis and fire control systems were Korean, the engines and transmissions were German imports. This created a legal dependency. Every time Seoul attempted an export, German authorities held a de facto veto, blocking deals that didn't align with their diplomatic interests. The push for domestic hardware was a cold, strategic necessity. Korea initiated a massive drive to produce its own power packs to sever this reliance. However, the results were not an immediate triumph. Early domestic engines for the K2 Black Panther suffered from higher wear rates and thermal management failures compared to proven German systems. Even today, the transition is uneven. While the K9 series has largely succeeded in domestic propulsion, the K2 platform still experiences performance gaps when using indigenous power packs. Korea's strategy to overcome these physical shortcomings is functional. They prioritize system-level control over component-level perfection. Rather than matching decades of German engineering overnight, Korean engineers developed proprietary control software to manage the engine's performance. They utilize real-time sensor data to monitor mechanical stress and heat, adjusting the engine's output to compensate for physical inconsistencies. By making the weapon's digital brain so tightly coupled with its mechanical heart, Korea ensures the two cannot be serviced by external third parties. This strategy serves two purposes. First, it mitigates mechanical reliability gaps through data-driven management. Second, it completes the de-Europeanization of the supply chain. Because the engine is now a fully integrated component of a Korean digital architecture, the legal tether to foreign suppliers is snapped. This decoupling isn't just a technical upgrade, it is a declaration of independence. By sacrificing immediate mechanical perfection for total system integration, Korea has ensured that their tanks are finally, physically, and legally theirs to sell. They have secured a long-term commercial advantage that no foreign power can ever veto again. If the ability to deliver hardware fast were the only metric, Korea would merely be a reliable vendor. But for nations facing immediate security crises, speed alone isn't enough to secure a multi-billion-dollar deal. When clients like Poland hit the inevitable point of hesitation, weighing the staggering costs of a total defense overhaul against their fiscal reality, Seoul pulls out its ultimate trump card, a financial and industrial partnership that fundamentally alters the terms of the deal. The core of this strategy is the state-backed credit framework provided by institutions like the Export-Import Bank of Korea. Seoul does not simply sell equipment, it provides the capital to facilitate the purchase. By offering massive, long-term, low-interest credit lines, South Korea allows client nations to amortize the astronomical costs of defense modernization over decades. This turns a budgetary impossibility into a manageable strategic investment. As President Lee Jae-myung has framed it, defense exports are not merely transactions but strategic industrial anchors that solidify South Korea's role as a stable partner in the global security chain. This financial backing is paired with a policy of local industrial participation. Unlike traditional defense giants that guard their blueprints like state secrets, Korea actively facilitates the transfer of production technology. When Korea helps a nation like Poland set up a factory for the K-2 Black Panther, they are not just offloading inventory. They are providing the infrastructure for that nation to sustain its own sovereign defense industry. This localization strategy allows the buyer to keep jobs within their borders, train their own engineers, and maintain their equipment without relying on fragile overseas supply chains. For the client, this is a pragmatic path to modernization that addresses both their security needs and their industrial ambitions. This approach is consistent with Stockholm International Peace Research Institute observations, which note a clear global shift toward decentralized defense manufacturing, where nations prioritize the ability to sustain their own equipment. Looking back, South Korea's rise to prominence in the global arms market is no accident. It is the calculated result of aligning Cold War-era industrial scale with modern state-backed capital efficiency. By offering a no-strings-attached model, characterized by rapid delivery, modular industrial partnership, and aggressive export financing, Seoul has successfully recalibrated the expectations of mid-sized powers worldwide. As South Korea cements its role as a Tier 1 supplier, the long-term implications of this strategy are coming into focus. The Korean model has essentially shifted the global arms trade from a system defined by political patronage to one defined by procurement pragmatism. Nations that were previously excluded from the high-end defense market due to ideological barriers or prohibitive costs are now finding a pathway toward modernization through these collaborative industrial frameworks. However, this rapid expansion brings its own set of structural challenges. As Korea exports its manufacturing base to regions like Poland and beyond, it faces the complex task of balancing market share with the long-term preservation of its industrial monopoly. Furthermore, as the global security landscape becomes increasingly polarized, the challenge for Seoul will be to maintain its frictionless commercial identity while navigating the mounting pressures from traditional superpowers. The lesson for the international community is clear. Security has increasingly become a commodity that can be quantified, mass-produced on a standardized assembly line, and financed through strategic industrial cooperation. South Korea is betting that its ability to provide this industrial reliability will remain the most valuable currency in a volatile world. The sustainability of this model will depend on Korea's ability to manage the global supply cycle and the inevitable geopolitical countercurrents that follow such a rapid realignment of the defense industry.